Iconic movie scenes you didn't know were really hard to film. Hey guys, welcome back to another video here on Celebrity Universe. There are several things that go into movie production. The work that goes into staging a particular complex stunt or reeling into performances of bombastic actors is massively challenging to directors. For these moments to come together despite all the factors working against them is incredible. In this video, we go behind the scenes of filming some of the most difficult action scenes in movies. Stay tuned and watch. Fast Five's Heist of the Century. Fast 5 is a standout entry in the Fast and Furious franchise. It's at its best during its climactic car chase through the streets of Rio de Janeiro as Dom and Brian haul a 100-ton bank vault with the police hot on their tail. It's so big and bombastic that it's totally understandable to assume it's mostly CGI. This scene not only was all practically shot, but those bank vaults are pretty much the real deal. Director Justin Lin was adamant about using as little CGI as possible, so stunt coordinator Jack Gill started by seeing if they could attach a real vault to the cars. At 80,000 to 100,000 pounds, this ended up being a no-go, so Gill and his team built a replica vault that weighed in at 10,000 pounds, so heavy that the cars couldn't actually move it. They dealt with this by swapping out the Dodge Challengers they were using for ones with bigger tires and 400 horsepower engines, then built several more vaults, one for crashing into buildings, another solely for driving, and one that even had a tractor inside to direct its movement. If all this sounds dangerous, it is. As Gill said, all it takes is one miscue and somebody gets killed. Luckily, everyone finished the shoot safe and sound. Iron Man 3 dives in. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is full of killer stunt work, but there are some easy standouts. Among them is a sequence that looks completely computer-generated, the breathtaking Barlow Monkeys airplane rescue set piece from Iron Man 3. The stunt was going to be performed in a studio with green screen, but after some prodding from stunt coordinator Jeff Haberstadt, the filmmakers examined the logistics of shooting it practically. They brought on the highly skilled Red Bull skydive team and began with 2 days of testing at the airport to make sure pulling it off would be plausible. Once they determined it was, the divers had to dress in civilian clothes with parachutes sewn into the fabric and make the dive without goggles. It began about 12,000 feet up, which is about as high as they can jump without oxygen. According to VFX supervisor Eric Nash, they proceeded to make the jump 7 or 8 times a day for 6 days, all alongside a cameraman with a red video camera mounted on their head. Any stunt involving skydivers is going to be precarious, and with this many diving at once from such a great height, it would have been totally understandable for the filmmakers to just call it quits and do it with a green screen. Their resilience resulted in a genuinely thrilling action sequence. Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol dangles by a thread. The Mission Impossible franchise has more or less become a series of films in which audiences watch actor Tom Cruise cheat death for real over and over. We've seen him latch himself to a plane prepping for a takeoff, and in Mission Impossible Fallout, he pulled off a tremendously ambitious skydiving stunt. However, they pale in comparison next to the tower climbing sequence in Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, another stunt that, against all odds, Cruise performed himself. This sequence sees Cruise as Ethan Hunt climbing the exterior of the Burj Khalifa well over 100 stories above ground. Cruise, apparently appeased with the prospect of dying over a spy movie, fired the film's insurance company so he could perform the climb without a stunt double. With only some rigging keeping him from falling, Cruise performed the stunt with no rehearsal on the actual Burj Khalifa, only a 50-foot replica built offset. What's more, when it came time for the moment in which Hunt leaps from the side of the building and then lands back on it with only a rope for support, there was no way to rig it so Cruise's landing would be cushioned. He just went ahead and did it, landing full force on the glass. Learning about the story behind this stunt is enough to convince us that Tom Cruise isn't mortal. Raiders of the Lost Ark takes Indy for a ride. Raiders of the Lost Ark, the film that introduced audiences to Harrison Ford's Indiana Jones, is chock full of some of the most most memorable imagery in film history, from the opening boulder sequence to the moment we all learned to never bring a sword to a gunfight. It's a ride unlike any other. One stunt, however, proved more difficult than others: the sequence in which Jones crawls under a moving truck and is then dragged through the dirt road, clinging to the whip he's fixed to the underbelly for dear life. Wasn't just difficult to film. A similar stunt had nearly killed Ford's stuntman Terry Leonard just a few months prior. It began with a 5-ton truck moving at full speed. The crew then dug a small ditch along the truck's path so to allow Leonard more maneuverability. The most difficult part, though, convincing Leonard to do it at all. He eventually agreed to it on the condition that his friend stunt coordinator Glenn Randall be the one to drive the truck. Despite its brevity, Leonard only drifts under the truck for 6 seconds. It was immensely dangerous. Leonard thankfully came away unscathed, pulling off what would become known as one of the greatest stunts of all time. The bridge over the River Kwai is falling down. Anytime you demolish or damage an irreplaceable prop on film, your margin for error is tight. For example, if you're going to blow up a bridge that your crew built from scratch, you'd better make sure you get it on one take. Thanks to some intense preparation, director David Lean got it in 2 takes in the bridge over the River Kwai. First, the crew built a dam to ensure the river's water levels would be low enough to shoot in. Unfortunately, heavy rains brought the water up anyway, and the shoot had to be postponed for 11 days. Then, in order to get enough footage of the bridge blowing up, the crew set up 5 cameras to film it, only to suffer a malfunction during the shoot. The train was already running and couldn't just stop. Fortunately, it crashed into a generator truck, a happy accident that salvaged the scene. Shooting the stunt may not have been outwardly chaotic, but the non-existent margin for error and the fact that there was an error only saved by luck makes it all the more impressive that Lean pulled off the film's climactic set piece so well. That brings us to the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching!